listening to Oilers Nation Radio, a member of the Nation network of podcasts and delivered by DoorDash. 1 hour of straight hockey talk with Dan, Rick, Tyler, and Baggedmilk starts now.
Welcome in. No Baggedmilk today. Oh, we miss him already.
And half our listeners are gone.
And everyone's turned off.
But I'm here.
People. Zach Laing is here to fill in for Baggedmilk, though, so we still got a full crew to bring you episode 165 of Oilers Nation Radio, which is presented by Oodle Noodle. That place is delicious. And they sponsored the Delicious Debate.
Delicious.
Earlier today, while sitting here doing the pregame show, I couldn't say the word dynamic duo.
Yeah, there it is again.
And I still can't. And when I said delicious debate there, that gave me PTSD half an hour ago.
You're having a tough morning.
Are you going to post the clip of you trying to say dynamic duo?
Yeah, I will.
Okay,
I will.
Come on!
Anyways, the delicious debate today here on Oilers Nation Radio. You know, the Oilers have been getting some really good contributions from their bottom six. Devin Shore, Kyle Turris, they both have goals this week. Cassian has 3 on the year. Fogel's got a couple as well. Derek Ryan's even found the back of the net. So far, through 9 games of the regular season, the question is, which bottom six forward has been the most impressive to you? Zach Laing, you are our guest, so you can go first.
Oh, that's so kind of you guys. I think it's got to be Warren Foegele, right? I mean, I know I probably stole all your guys' answers, but I got to go first, so I'm taking it. He's looked awesome in the bottom six so far this year. I think the acquisition was a great one. I mean, obviously it was tough to see Ethan Bear go, but you love what Fogel's brought to the lineup. You know, he plays hard on the puck. He's aggressive on the forecheck. You know, he's found the back of the net a couple of times, and he's making that bottom six group really strong, and he's helping boost a guy like Zach Cassian, who also is showing really well so far this year.
Your answer is Warren Foegele. Nation Dan, your answer is?
It was Warren Foegele, but I'll pivot, and I will also be honest, because there's another guy that I think came as advertised, and it's Derek Ryan. He's been solid defensively, as we were told by many Flames fans he would be, and he's even really chipped in on the offensive side of things. You know, not as much as your top line guys, your top flight guys, but he's been just as advertised, and so I'm happy with that. But I don't think there's anybody really in the bottom six that I'm too upset with right now.
Rick?
I think I have the last answer, though, because if you go to that fourth line or anybody who's a healthy scratch, I don't know if you can really give him any green check marks. So the other guy I'm going to bring up is Zach Cassian. We kind of knew what we needed out of him. He's already got, you know what he gets paid. He's got to live up to that dollar amount, and I think he's doing it right now. Outside of he solidified that third line, which allowed Yamamoto to slowly find his spot, which he's doing now. He's bringing everything we want out of him right now. I think he's kind of returning to the form that everyone's not sitting here figuring out how to trade him. So I think he's really solidified that third line. And outside of that, I really don't see where you're going to go. So, Ty, your answer here is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you, actually. I'm going to say Zach Cassian. Like Warren Foegele, we were all kind of hoping would come in here and be a really good presence in the bottom six, and he did really good stuff in Carolina as well. But when it comes to Zach Cassian, he was facing pressure this season. Like, if I wouldn't have been surprised if he came into this year and didn't play well. And he's just completely blown me away with how effective he's been. Not just, scoring 3 goals, that's huge. He's back to his usual Cassian antics as well. We had the thing against Calgary. He's always running his mouth when he's out there on the ice, and he's brought that physical play as well, which this bottom six needs too. So Cassian for me has been the most surprising member of the bottom six, just because especially after the head injury in the preseason, I really didn't think we would see this level of Cassian this early in the year.
And it's funny because he's kind of done this 2 or 3 times in his career, where you've kind of almost got to the point of like, okay, we got to move him on. And then he comes back and kind of reinvents himself. He did it, right around contract time, right after he asked for his trade. He's doing it right now. Like it's pretty impressive that the guy is able to kind of like just pull his socks back up and get back out there and find a way to be relevant again.
Well, I think there's something to be asked too about, like, is Zach Cassian earning his contract now, right? It was $3.25 million. He signed the deal just after he had that real heater with McDavid, and then he was disappointing afterwards. So, I would say yes, because I think he's bringing everything you want from a guy like Zach Cassian. And yeah, 3.25 still maybe a little bit high, maybe 750,000 too high, but like that's not a huge difference.
And that 3.25 was signed at a time where the cap was always rising at a rate at all time, right? So it wasn't always going to be percentage of the cap. It wasn't always going to be that, but it is what it is right now. And yeah, I think we're getting the most out of him, I think.
Well, and also when he signed that deal, he was the depth that this organization had. If the top flight guys went down, Cassian was the guy that was replacing them. And so there's that element to his game as well that I think he can still be counted on for if and when, injuries do happen, because they do happen. Cassian will be able to slide into that right-hand side and fill in, admirably. He won't replace that player completely, but yeah, he's a guy that you have for some value that's stashed in your bottom 3 or your bottom 6.
That's the other thing too. Like this forward group, knock on the wood tables we're all sitting on for the last couple of years, they've been very healthy.
You're sitting on a table?
Or sitting by. I don't know what I said.
Just bugging
you know, English is hard for me today, man.
With the exception of the last game of the year.
Yeah, with the McDavid injury a few years ago. But since then, like this top 6 has been really healthy, and that is never a guarantee. And the fact is, if the Oilers were to, God forbid, have one of their big centermen go down, Nuge can slide over. If the Oilers have a winger go down and it's on the left side, Fogle can slide up. If it's on the right side, either Cassian slides up or Hyman can flip to the right side and Fogle slides back up. Like this depth they have is huge, and it really comes from the third line, which was kind of the point of this question here, was to keep giving love to them. Because, I know some of the underlying numbers aren't great, but you can't deny that they've made a huge impact and are a pretty big reason why this team is 8-1.
And we're winning hockey games. That's exactly it.
You even look at the game against Nashville earlier this week. Like they brought out the line blender in the second or third period. Devin Shore was able to get a goal.
Yeah.
They were able to generate some offense, and they were able to do that because they have the options to be able to bump guys up and move guys down if they have to. And that's something we haven't seen in this organization for a long time.
And I don't know if Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are ever going to slow down, but if they do, it's nice to know that on any given night, you could get a big goal from the bottom 6 like they got against Seattle and like they got against Nashville.
At the beginning of the year, they're kind of the line there, the guys that were getting the team going.
That's the thing we were always talking about too, is that, I think it was Dave Hodge even tweeted out about the usage of McDavid and Draisaitl. And last year, how many games did they play where they were playing over 25 minutes? And the last few games, they've been under 20, which is amazing for a team that is a quote-unquote two-man team to be able to have that kind of depth. It's
that
pretty
quote
impressive.
is only outside of the 780-825.
Oh,
250.
I think
587.
Oh yeah,
I think Oiler fans can agree and admit that we have 2 of the best players in the league.
No, we have the 2 best
that
players
is
in the
not
league.
our fault.
No, but there's nothing wrong with it. We're also not a two-man team.
Well, we're 2 men, and then we're 3 and 4 and 5, 6 other guys that you have to worry about too.
Yeah,
but every team would be like that. Like we have a legit top 6, we have a legit top 9, and Ty was saying this at the beginning of the year. It's tough to find a roster out there with a better forward group than what we have right now.
And I would say that Vegas was probably the leader before this, but you've seen with Vegas what a couple of injuries has done to that team. They've absolutely been decimated, and now they go and trade for a Jack Eichel that is out for the foreseeable future.
Well, we'll get into the Eichel deal a little bit later on here, but let's talk a little bit more about the 2 wins this week. The way I looked at them, kind of similar to a lot of the victories this year. You sit there at the end of the night and you go, boy, they didn't play great at all. Like, it was not a perfect game against Seattle. It wasn't a perfect game against Nashville. Wasn't that A-plus level of hockey we're almost still waiting to see. But then you sit there and go, they didn't play great. Was there any point I was concerned they were losing that game?
That's
Nope.
exactly it. Was there any doubt?
Weird, right?
Was there any doubt?
No.
Even when they're down in games, you just don't question things because you know that we're going to get a power play. You know that those guys are going to come out and do something and make something happen.
They're going to draw a power play.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not like they're giving them to us because
No, 100%.
definitely not
Well,
even we're not
the way
getting them now.
the way they're going right now, it kind of does feel like the refs just go like, okay, we can give them one. It's been 12 minutes since the last one. Yeah, okay, we can give them this one.
Yeah, I got 2 more names to put on my my anti-referee list now after that the Monday game. Terrible.
Is there
How long
anybody
is
on
that
the referee
list?
roster that isn't
Honestly,
there?
you'd have to ask some of the people on Twitter because I'll get like tweets sometime like, oh shit, that guy's reffing tonight. Oh yeah, I got to be on top of it. But I had to like search for these 2 guys and I had no idea who is who. I got to look for their name. Then go because all I got is a number out there, right? Then I got to like search online, see what number they wear. They don't always wear the same number. I can't look at the right guy. Jake Brink was one of them, and I couldn't say the last guy's name
So
anyways.
good.
But yeah, no,
It's been 2 years since you've been in the building, so you're getting
Well, I've had a couple,
to
yeah.
meet new people.
There's a couple new refs out there, but yeah, no, you got to make sure they keep them on their game, keep them honest.
Yeah, you're playing an important role in this 8-1 start as well.
I try, man.
Well, I do think that the fans have a role to play now. The players can't be always complaining to the referees.
Yeah.
We need to be the ones.
I will
when
sign that
on home ice.
I'll sign up for that
And
job
Rick is
right
going
now.
crazy. The fans need to be going crazy too, and you keep it respectful. You don't need to do
Always.
the FU chants and that kind of stuff. But let's hold the referees accountable when we're at home.
I love a good ref you suck chant. I think those are the funniest things.
Those are pretty good.
Especially when like a little kid is just into it and going at it.
But you gotta get clever, man. You gotta get clever and ride them for something that, for me, the people around me is like 2 to 3 sections away. They're usually laughing too. That's when I know I'm okay. If no one's really saying anything, I might be like stepping on some nerves, but usually I'll say something and people like laugh. So yeah, I'm okay.
Any other big takeaways from the games this week? Like, I mean, Draisaitl doing the whole 20 points in 9 games is just ridiculous. We'll get to
that's kind of expected, and what Connor's doing is kind of expected, and what most guys are doing is kind of expected. But one guy out there is doing something that wasn't expected, that most people didn't think would happen, and that's Mikko Koskinen. What he's doing in the net right now is phenomenal. It's giving me a little bit of worry that if he does this all year, that there may be another contract behind it, man.
There's no way they re-sign him.
You can't say no way anymore.
So first of all,
we signed Mike Smith.
We didn't like the contract for the dollar amount and the years, right? So if you fix the years and fix the dollar amount, all of a sudden, if this goalie keeps doing this, dude, like, if you've watched what you've seen so far, that you can't just give up on this goalie if he does this all year. Then what? What do you do at that point?
I wouldn't put.
You can't let him walk away.
I mean, I understand what you're getting at. Like, it is a tough situation for the Oilers to be in, right? Like, how confident are the Oilers in Stuart Skinner or Ilya Konovalov? God, I keep butchering that one. Like, how confident are they in those guys? Like
0.
Well, I don't know because
Konovalov right away.
Skinner, they showed
the
their cards.
Fine. And Skinner, if things don't go well with Mike in the next week or so, could see Buffalo next week probably.
Maybe Buffalo's on the second half of back-to-back.
Yeah, so maybe he's kind of forced to get a game, but they haven't given him one right now.
I was just going to say, I don't think they have been forced already.
Yeah, they're okay with keeping him in the AHL right now, which is fine. That's just where his
But I'm talking like longer-term projections, right? Because how old is Koskinen? What, 31 years old? Mike Smith is 39 years old.
Exactly. We got like 9 more years of Mikko Koskinen.
Yeah, okay.
If Mike Smith has taught me anything, we've got a long time going.
If Mikko plays this way all year, it's going to be tough not to sign. You can't let him walk away for free.
I don't necessarily disagree with
2 million
I don't
years.
necessarily
It's
disagree
crazy.
with you,
It's
Rick.
crazy to think about.
It is crazy to think about, but in the same breath, the team needs to be looking towards the future and having a
100%.
future
100%.
elite goaltender in there. And if there's a guy like John Gibson available this offseason, the Oilers have to pull the trigger on that. They have to go and get a guy that they can have in the net for years down the road.
I think I mostly agree, but look at Mikko's numbers. If Mikko's numbers today are what his numbers are at the end of the year, he's
going to win the Vezina at that point.
Yeah. Okay, well, bring it back to like,
but then what's his ask?
Let's call him
what's
a top
his ask on the
five.
contract?
That I have no idea.
Right? Because this is the thing. If Koskinen plays
and you
this
got to trade for Gibson, you have to spend to bring him in.
Do you think Koskinen's going to ask for less than $4.5 million if he keeps this play up all year?
This conversation is insane to me. I would just like to point
I agree. It's wild.
So here's the thing.
But you can't deny that it's going to be a conversation if he plays like this for the whole year.
Well, that's what we do here. We do have conversations, and you guys are debating.
It's hilarious.
I love that this has come from a delicious debate.
I don't want to pay Koskinen over $3 million a year.
I don't want to pay Koskinen more than like $2 million, and even then, I'd be like, we should be trying to get something different.
I don't disagree with that.
Koskinen has great numbers through the regular season. Let's say he ends the year with like a 2.75.
Top five goalie.
He's not going to be a
numbers wise. He will never be that type of a goaltender, but his numbers.
So let's say he ends with 275 goals against average and like a 920 save percentage, and you're like, all right, that was a great season by Koskinen. We didn't see that coming. Unless they win the Stanley Cup, get a new goalie.
I agree, but you're letting the guy walk for free. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Do we just become the Toronto Maple Leafs?
That's the point I'm trying to make. It's
going to be hilarious. Like we could be in a position.
Like, if Koskinen is asking for anything over $3 million, you say, see you later, buddy. Great season. Go chase the bag somewhere else. I'm not, like Tyler said, I'm not paying him a cent over $3 million this year.
The only issue for me is that the backup next year is still Mike Smith.
Yeah, and that's why you need like
it's
a
also biodeable. It's also
one.
put into Bakersfield. Like Mike Smith is not necessarily there.
That's not going to happen.
Not with this team. Not with what he's earned.
Yeah.
Not with the way the team sees Smith. There's no way he's not the team's backup.
I will give you this. The only way it makes sense to even consider doing that is kind of what you were getting at. If you think Konovalov's 1 year away.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, we're not going to go out and spend for John Gibson because we think Konovalov's right there. and we're not going to go out and get Tristan Jarry or whoever because Konovalov is right there. But even in that case, Mike Smith would be heading into the last year of his deal. I still think you could go out and get a Jarry or, I mean, we're going to see Georgiev tonight. He's asked out of New York in the past. Like, you can still go get a younger guy to put with Smith next year and then start the transition plan. If you think Konovalov is 1 year away of, okay, it's now 1 year of Smith and this younger option, and the year after that, it's this new guy taking the reins and Konovalov coming up. And then bang, you got your duo for the next 3-4 years.
Are you totally off the Skinner train? Not to say there's ever a train to be on, but
I just think Konovalov has a higher ceiling. Like, this is a guy who's proven he can do it at a high level in the KHL. And Skinner's been a good American League guy.
that's fair.
I'm just not sure if there's enough there for me to think he's an NHL goalie. I think Konovalov's better.
And it's what I keep coming back to. I've said this multiple times on Twitter and in articles and everywhere. You look at the most comparable guys for Konovalov in Igor Shesterkin and Ilya Sorokin. Shesterkin came to North America to play with the Rangers. He spent half the season in the American League. He had like a .935 save percentage, forced them into calling him up in January, and he's been really good. Like, he was a little shaky at first, but now you're seeing this year that he can be a legit goaltender as well. And same thing with Sorokin. He came right over from the KHL at the same age that Konovalov did, and has been a very good goaltender for the Islanders. And I think that's the ceiling you're getting with.
Who was the goaltender
Konovalov.
that we were supposed to draft? Everybody wanted us to draft the blue chip goaltender for a couple.
Jesper Wallstead.
No, go back a couple more years. I think you might have been caught with his right hand too.
Carey Price.
No. You were Daniel. You were definitely on board with drafting this
Oh,
guy.
Yaroslav Askarov.
Yes.
There
Yeah.
we go. What's this guy up to
Nashville.
now
He went
these
to
days?
Nashville.
Yeah,
didn't
I
he?
think he's still in the K.
Is he?
I mean, it takes time, but like Konovalov's done it now where he's been in the K
goalies
for
are
3
voodoo,
years.
though. You never know what is going to happen.
But that could work out
So-
in your favor.
Yeah.
So I have a finality to this question. If Konovalov, I was about to say it too.
Konovalov.
If Koskinen's camp came to the Oilers right now and said 1 more year at
No.
the exact same price,
No. Oh,
Right
God, no. I would throw
No
up.
way.
I would laugh. I would
What's
laugh.
he right now? 4?
yeah, no, 3.5, 3.5.
Four and a half.
Four.
still.
4.5.
4.5.
What do I
Way
think,
too
3.5?
much money. Way too much money.
If
one more year
If
at-
Koskinen's camp called the Oilers right now and said, we want to do an extension,
For
I
$2
wouldn't,
million next
I
year.
wouldn't even let them get to the price. I'd say, yeah, no, we're good. Thanks, no, we're good.
Yeah, you're not signing him until the offseason if you're signing him.
And even then,
if
it's like
you're
a 10%
signing,
chance.
And if you're signing him, it's like a worst case scenario as far as I'm concerned.
Just like bringing him back this year.
you've
Bringing
looked
him
at-
back this year was the worst case
But
scenario.
we
It was
were
like
all
plan E.
As a
We-
duo
Zach-
last year, they're a top 8 save percentage.
Zach, the three of us and Baggedmilk were all against this tandem, right? That was, or Rick, were you
Yeah.
were you lukewarm on
There
it?
was, you're not. There was
In the
nothing.
offseason,
There was
I'm
nothing to be hot about it. You definitely didn't want this. It wasn't the end of the world, but
Were you a Smith and a Koskinen guy in the offseason?
No.
Yeah. See,
No,
I
not
don't.
even close.
And
At
so,
some point, I think I said the offseason would be a failure if those two were bad.
Yeah.
I called it Plan Z. So, I mean, we were all wrong there so far, and that's fine. And that's good to admit. But anyways, it's an interesting debate.
But look at us, eh? Who would have thought?
right. I'm telling you,
who'd
man.
have
Like,
thought? Eight, not
8-1,
me.
2 Vezina goalies.
If he keeps playing like this, he's gonna create issues for them to talk about. I know it's really easy for us to sit here and say yay, nay, in our opinions, but once you're in there and you're dealing with the dollars and everything, it's gonna be an interesting conversation they're gonna have.
Now, here's the true question. Will they split the Vezina trophies between Koskinen and Smith at the end of the year for the first time in NHL
They'll
history?
have to split the, what is it, the Jennings? That's
Yeah,
the one
the
to
Jennings.
save
That's where they
percentage.
they share
They'll
that
split 'em
one.
both.
They'll have to do that, and then
be
maybe
the
they
first
do
time
split
ever.
the Vezina.
Hey, at this rate,
Dare to dream,
at
right,
this
Tyler?
rate, at this
Plan the
rate,
parade.
Well, fine. On your guys' side of things, then at this rate, has he increased his trade value?
Yes.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
But here's the other thing, though.
He's made himself entertaining for like
So
a
if
Buffalo
we're
or
moving him
Arizona.
at the deadline like it was predicted,
Yeah.
all of a sudden we've got a heavier chip. We have something that's worth a lot more.
Absolutely. And that would be a great scenario, too, because then maybe a guy like Skinner or Konovalov has played well enough in the American League where the team says, hey, you know what, we can call him up at the deadline, and he can probably be a solid backup to Mike Smith, right? And then what?
Well,
what
no, because I
then you're
think
able
if
to.
Koskinen goes, he goes in a deal that brings a goaltender back.
Brings it all the end.
Yeah,
I don't
probably.
think Holland's not the type of GM who'd sit there and be like, all right, big playoff race. I'm going to risk having my injury-prone vet and Konovalov.
Yeah.
But
Not the last couple of years, no.
like maybe Koskinen's raising his trade value, but here's the other thing. If we get to March after the Olympic break and we're talking trade deadline seriously, and the Oilers are in contention for the top of the division still,
President's
which
Trophy.
they should be, or top of the conference even, whatever, it's probably because Koskinen and Smith are still playing well. So why would you trade them?
I'm just
right?
saying.
I know.
Totally.
But that's why I keep saying everyone's talking, like Fleury, right? Fleury's this dream target for Oilers fans. And it's like, if we get to the deadline, it's because goaltending isn't an issue.
Yep.
The most likely trade that Ken Holland's going to do is to bring in a left-handed defenseman, I still think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think he makes the goalie trade if we're on the bubble.
We won't be on
Like
a
if
bubble.
we're in that wild card spot.
We'll be.
I think he makes that
I
goalie
just
trade.
I just think with Vegas' injuries, the rest of the division not looking
I
good
don't-
outside
yeah, I don't
Calgary,
disagree.
I think they'll be fighting for the top of the division at the worst and top of the conference at the best situation.
Moonwalking to the top of the division.
They've banked some safety points, that's for
Moonwalking.
sure.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I don't see a scenario where the Oilers aren't the top team in the.
Well, Calgary
division
could
at the
keep
end of the
losing
year.
games in overtime.
Yeah, they could pull a Montreal from last year where they just keep banking fucking Bettman points.
That's three of them
might-
already.
They might,
Yeah.
right? But Calgary's not a deep enough team to be in serious contention.
Come on, Sean Monahan's on their fourth line.
I really wish.
Hold on. There it is.
I really wish the Eichel trade had gone through.
I gotta say that I gotta thank Vegas for that trade though, because I'm pretty sure that solidified my Oilers taking the division bet.
I really wanted Eichel to go to Calgary. We'll get into that later. We're saving that. Before we get into some other topics, we're going to give some love to Cornerstone Insurance. If you head to their website, cornerstoneins.ca, and if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's a nice little Oilers Nation logo there, because Cornerstone are proud teammates of us here at Oilers Nation, and they got a little discount thing in there. At least that's what Baggedmilk always says when he does this ad read.
Yeah, if you click on About, Tyler.
About.
And then hit Citizens of the Nation, you will be able to unlock all of the things that any citizen of the nation, whether you cheer for the Oilers or not, can have available to them.
cornerstoneins.ca. We tag them in social media posts all the time, so give them a follow if you see one of those pop up. Let's keep moving on here. The Oilers will look to improve to 9-1 tonight as they take on the New York Rangers. Edmonton catching a bit of a break again. Shesterkin's not starting. It's Georgiev, which is...
like I said this before the pod, we are the backup goaltender choice now in Alberta.
Why?
Welcome to being the best, because it's
a winnable game against Calgary.
Yeah, so you sacrifice someone to go against us, and then all of a sudden you take your real team into Calgary.
Well, and Nashville's goalie played pretty damn well in that position, but yeah, I agree. It's a nice position to be in this province when Calgary is the less difficult team to play.
Good for the puck line bets, I will say so myself.
Oilers have been good puck line bet. I mean, they've been a good everything bet early on here.
Tyler has been the good bet so far this year.
Yeah, Fade Your Remchuk is over.
Fade your Remchuk, that era's behind us, baby. It's like the decade of darkness.
It was a good era, though. We made some money.
But I'm
that
telling you,
way.
man, this man right here is going to pay for my trip to Mexico, and he's halfway there right now.
I love it. We'll have more on that later. I might be my own hot.
Oh, look at
I
him.
might,
He's
I
starting
might
to
be my
blush.
own hot performer this week.
He might be blushing here.
Anyways, tonight's also Kevin Lowe night. For people who are my age and Zach's age, our memories of Kevin Lowe, Zach, are the executive. Built up 06, 2 tiers of fans. I know a thing about winning. They're not necessarily positive memories. Dan and Rick, I'll ask you, do you guys have some more positive playing memories of Kevin Lowe, or is he still a little bit before your time?
Yeah, for me, Kevin Lowe was the gold standard of an Oiler for a long, long time. The guy that stuck around even after, and then came back even after, he had success elsewhere. He was never too far away from the Oilers. And for me, he was just a defenseman that you could count on. And I've heard stories from numerous scribes around town that say that to a man, every person that's on these championship teams says that they wouldn't have won the championships without Kevin Lowe on their team. So to me, that, when you have Hall of Famers vouching for your abilities and your skills, I mean, of course, he's a Hall of Famer in his own right. But it's going to be a special night for me as an Oilers fan. Rick, what about you?
First and foremost, the man himself is on another level. Like what he's done for this city, the organization. He easily could have packed up and left. He could have gone anywhere. Being a part of the Oilers organization in the 90s must not have been fun.
Yup.
Like you can't go into a room without turning the light. You don't need the lights on in here, guys. We're trying to save money. Like we're poor as poor. The fact he stuck around for so long, and he got shat on by a ton of people, way too many people out there, put everything on him, and he stuck it out, and he did it with a smile on his face, and he's been gracious and just a fantastic person the whole time. Someone who could do that is phenomenal. The player, he was always like the last of the dynasty. Everybody kind of gone, but Kevin was still around. He went to New York eventually he wins the cup in '94, and he's back here by 96, I'm sure, right?
Yep.
And and he's the only one of the dynasty who comes back.
Well, Mike Comrie came back too.
Well, he was not dynasty. Well, he was dynasty if you consider he's hanging out with his dad and the guys. But no, the guy, and he's a phenomenal hockey player. I know everyone. I know a lot of people have said he's was lucky just to be kind of settled down with this guy and that guy and whatnot. But what he did himself was great. I don't remember watching a lot of him on the ice in the 80s. I remember a little bit of that last cup, and then obviously the end of his career is almost at that point. And then I remember even in the 96 playoffs or 97, I think dude had a broken foot.
Yeah.
And was still going. He just wanted to be on the bench. What he could do for you. He's phenomenal. I've been waiting for this day for a while, and I'm really happy to see it finally be done.
Well, and I was going to say too, to his credit, low event hockey was the game that he played. And, it was before low event hockey was even a thing. And so, Rick, your point of you don't really remember much of him, it's because he was just out there and nothing happened. Nothing bad happened for your team, and other guys were making good things happen.
Low event hockey?
I didn't even catch that I did that. Nice. But for you guys, coming back to kind of the management thing, is he not one of our best general managers by success rate alone?
Yes.
When was the last time we were in the Cup final?
06.
Who was the GM?
He was.
Okay.
And as a GM, he made some transactions. The list of trades that he made in that time.
Very few GMs would have been successful in the summer of 06, going into 07.
Yep.
What happened to him there was terrible. The Pronger leaving, Spacek and Pekka not wanting to play outside of the Eastern time zone. Samsonov, whatever, he kind of disappeared. Dickie Tarnstrom, I think he stuck around for a little bit.
Yeah,
Traded him for Corey Cross.
Yeah, so you know what? He was around for a tough time, and like I said, he was in charge of the checkbook when there's no money to spend.
Yeah, I'm even looking at this, right? The deal when Bill Guerin goes out and Anson Carter comes in, right? And they also got the pick that ended up being Ales Hemsky in that trade.
Dude, and he was forced to do a lot of these terrible trades where
the Chris Pronger trade.
Well, even go back.
We don't have Eberle.
Go back 8 years before that or whatever it is. You've got a young player in Doug Waite, and you can't afford to pay him. You got to trade him. Arnott turns into Guerin. Guerin's eventually got to go. Anson Carter eventually has to go. Curtis Joseph, he most likely brought Cujo in here, and eventually, because we couldn't pay him, had to turn around and trade him away again. What could this team have been with him bringing guys in and us being able to afford to pay these guys to stick around?
Yeah, not having to trade away guys for spare parts.
But all you ever hear is the Decade of Darkness and the two-tiered fans or whatever the hell that is, and
Lowe's,
just a bunch of
that's the unfortunate
low-hanging fruit to shit on the guy.
That's the unfortunate thing about Twitter culture, almost in a way, and we saw it in the early days of when Twitter started, and those instances happened because I don't think it was as much of Kevin Lowe necessarily shitting on people. It was him trying to stand up for himself in a way too, against a fan base that was rabid against him. I remember when I first started blogging, I had my own WordPress site for a little while. I remember there was a group of people in Edmonton that spent $5,500 to take out a full page ad in the Edmonton Sun being oh, Kevin Lowe must go, rah. You guys remember when that happened?
They also parked the truck right outside the office.
Yeah,
was
parked the truck outside of the office.
Was the sign for him or was it for Mac T?
No, it was Lowe must go.
I remember the Lowe must go
campaign. Thing across from Kingsway. Yeah,
and I wrote an article on my little dinky WordPress website about, I did an opposite, an open letter to Oilers fans, kind of defending Lowe and saying how much of a waste of time and waste of money this was at the time, and I got ripped for it. It was my first time being ripped for something as a hockey writer, and so that's always a memory that stays strong.
$5,500 for that.
Yeah,
they deserved every mean word you probably didn't say that you should have said. Wasting $5,500 on that is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. It was like I remember looking it up too, and I did like some comparables. People they could have spent
how many donaires they could have bought.
How many donaires?
Dude, $5,500 at that time. You could have got season tickets.
Yeah, and you could have sent I think it was like
bam. Now you're a tier 1 fan. You can go to the things
30 Nugent Hopkins jerseys that they could have given to kids or something shit like that, right? It was just so absurd, and it's unfortunate because I've even still as a relatively young guy here, I still was able to see the successes that Lowe had and the things and the positives that he did do for this organization.
And at the end of the day, are we having another truck backing in incident or parking?
Backing out those those rearview mirrors almost touched. They were really close.
The other thing too, and you touched on it, he clearly, you can say what you want about some mistakes he may have made as a. Yeah, this guy.
Wow,
he almost
close.
Smoked the dumpster.
That was literally an inch.
Dude, I'm telling you, either side of that truck was not.
This is good audio. What we're watching right now is we're watching a truck back up. His rear view mirror just missed the garbage can. He's now into a bush.
Oh, this is an 8-point turn if I've ever seen one, boys.
Yeah, it's gonna take him a while.
This is a tight parking spot. They had to try and make some parking work in this area, and I know it's been a challenge, but they're doing their best they can.
I think he's got it, actually.
He's got it.
Back to the episode at hand.
Back to the episode. I like that you mentioned, he didn't leave Edmonton. Nope. When he was public enemy number 1 or whatever there, he didn't go. When he was done playing, he stayed. He was the GM. And even now, right, when he's not really involved in the Oilers, he's everywhere. When I covered the Oil Kings for the last couple of years, you'd see him at the rink every second game walking around with people. This dude loves Edmonton, and he loves Edmonton hockey. And I'm happy that there's going to be a night here to celebrate him. I will say what I'm not happy about. The ceremony starts at 5:45, lasts about an hour, then warm-ups, and then the game starts. So, I'm going to the game, and I'm already, looking at my mobile banking, being okay, how many Rodgers beers can I afford tonight? How many beers per hour is that? And, really breaking it down.
But for the players, that's a better thing.
It is, and I do like that they do it that way.
I'm so tired of the players having to sit there, and it's usually only the home team, and that home team then comes out flat afterwards. It's nonsense.
Yeah. So it is nice that they get the warm-up to get their legs moving again, because the Oilers are going to sit on the bench and watch. I'm not sure if the Rangers are. I haven't heard anything about that.
I hope they do. I think the Rangers, you'll have at least a couple of players to do it. As much as Lowe is an Oiler, Lowe's other team was the Rangers. Yeah. And half the Oilers ended up on the Rangers, and the other half ended up in LA. There's a big connection between Edmonton and the Rangers. So I think some players will. Messier, I know Slats isn't really around in the organization anymore, but. Yeah, if Glenn was still there, I guarantee you the team would still be on the bench.
Did I see Sarah McLachlan at their gala that they did too?
I read something.
I couldn't tell if that was a joke.
Oh yeah, that's the song. Yeah, I'll remember you.
I honestly thought that was a joke.
I
it was in their post. It was in their official post.
Really?
There was a photo of Sarah McLachlan. Way.
These guys aren't very good at that stuff. That couldn't have been a joke. It had to be real.
Okay. Okay, I got a couple other ways I want to go with this banner and then also the Wall of Honor thing, which we're going to get to, but it's all going to be in Ask the Idiots, which is brought to you by our friends over at Buster's Pizza. They dropped off some pizza for us a couple weeks ago, and I still think about it regularly. Their first location opened back in 2001 with the goal of bringing together friends and family to share great food and great memories. Since then, they've attained that goal. They've grown into Western Canada's largest locally owned pizza and donair restaurant. Hello.
Are you going to read the deals too?
The deals right now at busterspizza.ca. Oh, that last one looked good.
Pizza and wings.
Undecided couple. You can get your choice of a baked pasta or regular donair with cheese.
Donair.
And then you can do another one as well. So let's say you want donair, your significant other wants pasta. One of each. 2 pops for only $20. That's fucking awesome.
And you know what? If you're really hungry, that's just 2 donairs for yourself.
1,000%.
Right? Let's be real here.
Donair and pasta, that's a hell of a meal.
An undecided single.
See your pasta, you can reheat it later on, so you can let that chill for a little bit.
Absolutely.
That's air fryer lunch the next day. Their everyday deal. 2 12-inch 2-topper pizzas for $22 plus GST.
Speaking of air fryers, I got on the air fryer train this week. And
always eat your leftovers in the air fryers.
I got one of the oven ones.
This is an oven one, so I don't think you can
No, you can. I warmed up some leftover air fried pierogies from last night.
Okay, but what about noodles or something?
Everything.
But it doesn't have a bucket you can sit in. It just sits on
it's like a little oven basically. It's like your little countertop.
See, but you need a bit of a bucket so you can throw your pasta in there, and then
eat it out of the bucket.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
From Busters.
Your first question in Ask the Idiots. The Oilers announced that they are going to have a Wall of Fame go up. They are going to keep up their club policy of only Hall of Famers get their banners lifted up, which I like. I personally do like it.
Their jerseys retired.
Where's the wall then? Like, is it in that little place where we're not allowed to go? Is it going to be like on the walls in the concourse where everyone can see and appreciate it? Kind of like did in Montreal?
The wall that you're talking about inside there is for the Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
So Lowe's picture will go up there now.
I hope they do it somewhere where when you're sitting in your seat, you can look up and see something.
Well, I prefer like in the
lobby,
in the concourse. Yeah, for sure.
I think that the perfect place for it is right behind the banners. There's that whole area of the concourse that's opened up
gray.
There, and then you just you change it from gray to being a bunch
awesome.
of different honored numbers and jerseys.
If you had to put one player, actually, you know what? I'm gonna amend this. Ryan Smith is the obvious answer, right?
Easy.
Okay, Ryan Smith gets on the Wall of Honor. Who is your second choice to go on the Wall of Honor, Rick?
Doug Waite. Hands down, no question. Even though he was forced to do what he had to do against his will in 2006. No one will ever explain, no one will ever convince me that he did that because he wanted to. He was forced to do that against his will to us in 2006. I still put Doug Waite up there.
Dan?
I'll get out of that era. I was going to say Todd Marchand, but I'll say Dwayne Rollison. For what he did in 2006 for this team, and then, stuck around afterwards and kept slogging it through some of the decade of darkness. I'll give it to Dwayner.
Zach?
So I have two. I have one that I would put in right now.
Not allowed, just one.
And then one that I would put in the future when this player retires.
I think I know who that's going to be, but anyways, who's your one for now?
Alish Hemsky. Easy.
That was my
It's
answer.
easy, right? I mean, he meant so much to this organization for so long.
He was like their only skilled player for so long.
Oh, man. I think it's an absolute no-brainer. But there is one current NHLer that I would put in there years down the road.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to love this one. Taylor Hall.
Oh. Wow, that's not where I thought you were going.
I know. I'm probably sure that it wasn't where
I don't think he'd get that honor.
See,
I don't think there's enough there.
See, the reason that I say so is he was the first overall pick by the team, right? And he stuck around through some hellish years in Edmonton and endured some hellish moments in this organization.
Did you really stick around if you haven't signed one UFA contract? Not to say he wouldn't have signed it. He didn't have the opportunity to, but if you haven't signed one UFA contract, if you really stuck around, you're kind of stuck in that spot in the first place.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But I think just in terms of importance to the organization over a significant period of time. Because that's really what I think it's
I think he's a part of the Connor McDavid era.
Yeah, like he is for sure, right? I think there's a number of other ways you can go with it too, with a lot of guys that were here in the 80s that deserve to be up there.
But we need to 1, 2, 3. There's probably 3 or 4 guys, maybe 5 that need to go from the 90s in there first.
Yes.
So Big Dan, I'm sorry, but I'm going to go Cujo first over Rolly.
That's fine, yeah.
Hemmer's in there.
I do think with the announcement though, you gotta spread it out and you gotta give every
100%, 100%. Yeah, and I don't know if you just there's a couple eras if you choose one and or you try and do them chronologically. I don't really know.
I think going chronologically is the right way to do it. You go back to the early days, you work your way through, and that's why I say, years down the road, like I'm talking 10 years from now, maybe a guy like Taylor Hall gets that.
And I think you'd have to draw the line to being like, you still have to have it. They need to be a great Oiler that just wasn't quite good enough to get in the Hall of Fame. And
not quite good enough to get in the Hall of Fame, or just nowhere near good enough to get in the Hall of Fame.
Not
but
quite
still a
good.
great Oiler.
Yeah, great Oiler that's just not quite good enough to get in the Hall of Fame. Like Ryan Smith, a great Oiler who had a great career. And Taylor Hall, he was a good Oiler. I loved him as an Oiler. I would welcome him back. But he wasn't a great Oiler.
I understand where you're coming.
I think that the line that you do is you create. It's the memories that you have from that player. Like to me, Fernando Pisani would be in that conversation.
I just don't know if you can.
He created something special.
I still think you want it to be a little bit exclusive. And I get Pisani was great in 2006. And Pisani would be real close there. But I want this player to still be a great player. Like at some point, they were either close to the identity of the team or they were the identity of the team and a true fan favorite.
Like a captain?
Jason Smith.
Yeah.
Gator, absolutely.
But even that's like bubble because he was a captain. I would almost have a separate area where you just honor all the captains.
Okay, good. Because you go back a couple before that. Then the dude's still in the town. He stuck around like Kevin Lowe did. He was never a great hockey player, but Kelly Buchberger is a massive part of the Edmonton Oilers franchise.
Buchberger is a Wall of Honor candidate.
That
for
would
me.
be a good one. For
Right,
sure.
that's why I was asking how close to the Hall of Fame do you need to be, because he's nowhere near the Hall of Fame.
Well,
but what he did for this organization is huge. He was a massive part of this organization.
Neither is Hemsky either, though. Let's be real. Like he's not
fair.
close to a hockey. He's not.
No,
close
but
to
he's a hell of a lot
Hall
closer
Fame
than Bucky. Not taking anything away from Bucky,
Close.
but the talent Hemsky had was.
But like Hemsky, Hemsky was their best player. He was a part of 06, and
Yeah.
like he was here for so long as well,
No,
right?
for
And
sure.
like with Hall, like his career here wasn't long enough even. I'd
See,
say.
I'm fighting this just because I
want everyone
don't
in.
like I don't like the Hall of Fame play for the jerseys myself.
Why not?
And so that's where because I just think it's too exclusive. I think
Supposed to
that
be, though.
I think
Yeah.
that Orion Smith meant more to this city than Al Hamilton did.
Yeah, but Al
no, you-
Hamilton's
and
like
I'm not-
a
and I
nod
get it.
to the past and
And
the
I get
roots
it.
of this
But you
team.
say that because you were a part of the Ryan
course.
Smith,
Of course.
but you weren't a part of the Al Hamilton.
But that's
era.
where I think that this Ring of Honor comes in, is it starts to include some younger fans, and it starts to include people that don't necessarily ever have a chance of having their jersey retired, maybe outside of their junior ranks. I think that those are the ones that should be in the Wall of Honor.
But again, for guys like in our mid-20s, like Tyler and I here, that was Taylor Hall for a long time.
And that's where I would say yes, Taylor Hall is a person that I would include in that. Jordan Eberle at the end
And
of
I
his career,
think- I think
would.
Nugent
can
Hopkins
have-
will look great in there one day.
Yeah.
Let's be
Nugent
real.
Hopkins will be there.
And that
he's
was
gonna look
actually
great there.
that was going to be
He's
my
going to be the
answer, was
first.
Nuge.
Yeah, he's going to be the first wire to wire. Cross our fingers.
Well,
Of course, he's there.
and when you start winning cups, that's when the difference starts to come into it too, right? Because then you're starting to talk about retiring jerseys and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think you do want that exclusivity. The last thing you want with the retiring jerseys is to have that line start moving, and then all of a sudden it's all right. Every year we're retiring 2 jerseys. Now it's
Well,
like, okay, we got 20 jerseys retired, and your banners look cluttered. It's the getting your jersey and your banner up there is for the elite of the elite that have played for your organization, not just fan favorites. Not just it needs to be this great combination of a fan favorite who had an illustrious career, and their number will never be worn again. 94 will never be worn again by an Oiler. It's just not going to be officially retired.
I guess, and I hear what you're saying. I think that this organization probably has to change some of their lines because we don't have the 80s Oilers to rest on anymore. We don't have that to look back at. But I think a lot of fans nowadays have the 97 moment to look back on, and they have the 06 Cup run to look back on, and I think that's where the Ring of Honor should come in.
The next we're continuing on Ask the Idiots here. The next jersey retired banner to go up into the rafters at Rodgers Place will be what?
Well, he got drafted a year before, so we'll go 29.
It's 29, right? Like that. Like we're gonna get low tonight, and the next time we get a retired jersey will probably be the night we honor Leon Draisaitl's career.
Yeah,
Weird.
Yeah, assuming he leaves a little bit before Connor does.
I think it's going to be Connor. I think that like with Gretzky, same kind of idea where it's like everybody's just waiting for Connors to drop, and then we can drop a few more after that. If it's
Connor
don't have
will
a
retire.
few more.
Connor will retire, and opening game the following year,
Can't.
his jersey could go up.
well,
Yeah, they
because
might-
of the Hall of Fame rule,
I think.
though.
Like,
They
but
made-
it could be that because we talk about Connor McDavid, like he's already pretty much on the Mount Rushmore of hockey players.
Would you be surprised if they waived that? I mean,
No.
It is so depressing we're talking about this, but they might waive the Hall of Fame rule for McDavid.
Agreed, because he could end up doing silly things. That yes.
It depends on how how the Hall of Fame kind of numbers break down, right? Like baseball fans know that some guys just get kind of caught up in the tumbler for too long.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like if there's a backlog of guys that are still waiting to go in, then I don't see that.
I think
There's not
McDavid's so
a
exceptional that you
there's
just
not a
don't know.
backlog that'll keep him out. It's going to be whether or not he puts up the
because they've only waived it for
astronomical. If he
Gretzky,
does astronomical numbers,
Or that's
Lemieux was the last one.
Or that's the Oilers giving him an honor, saying, hey, you are going to be the only non-Hall of Fame player that we raised to the rafters. We ain't even waiting, Connor. We love you that much. Bang, right there.
But we know it's
They should
going.
retire it
out.
right
and,
now.
and you'll look over, you'll see 97 forever in that iconic banner, and you'll glance over, and you'll see a couple Stanley Cup banners that he helped contribute to as well.
How's that for a bold move? Start of the next year, you raise the Stanley Cup banner right next to Connor McDavid's 97. No one will ever wear your number
that
anymore.
he won
McDavid.
in combination
That means
with
he
his son,
retires as a
Connor
champion.
McDavid Jr.
I'm okay with this.
29 and 97 though, right? Like they're obviously the next duo to go up there. Moving along on Ask the Idiots, let's get to the Jack Eichel deal. Start with this one quickly around the horn. Would you have preferred Calgary or Vegas, Rick?
Calgary, especially for the rumored price tag.
Dan,
I'm actually good with Vegas now.
Zach?
Calgary.
I would have preferred Calgary as well. That rumored price tag was never going to happen either.
No, I assume not. That was an astronomical pay.
That's why I say Vegas, just because Vegas to me is they're the number one team in this division, and we're chasing them down, and now we have passed them.
But now Vegas has Eichel, and it's like,
next year that's an issue. But this year I'm talking.
Well, they're going to get him soon, or at some point this year.
Well, they're going to get him like in March. But he hasn't played for a full year, and he's going to be kind of skeptical about as he should be, about his neck and whatever. If things go 100%, they need everything to line up for him to be ready by mid-March.
What a time to be alive, though, where we're like actually debating how excited we were for the second best player from McDavid's draft year to go to one of our division.
He's not even the second best player on our team right now. I agree. I'm like, he can come into their division all he wants. I honestly don't like, and I know I haven't watched a lot of Buffalo in his time there. I'm not overly worried about the guy.
But think about being an Oilers fan in like the last 10 years before McDavid, right? We were always terrified the moves that California teams would make. We're always terrified.
They were just sitting on top of really good players, anyways, right? They had Gets left.
But now we have the players that we're sitting.
And that's why I would have almost preferred Calgary in a sense, because Calgary would have had to nuke their draft capital that they've had over the last number of years to bring them in.
And
right?
Vegas is going to have to subtract a bunch of players anyways to fit under the cap.
That's the thing.
The thing is, too, is that I don't think Calgary is anywhere near as good as Vegas is without Jack Eichel. Right? Like Calgary, I think Jack Eichel's a really good NHL player. I do. I think he's a really, really good NHL player. I don't think he is like this elite.
You don't?
Again, I haven't watched a lot of Buffalo games, but I don't think he's like the elite of the elite of the elite that would have sent Calgary above.
Where do you rank him in the NHL right now? I know it's pretty hard to.
He's comfortably a top 10 centerman.
Top 10 centerman? Yeah, I can say that.
For sure.
The difference for me is he goes from Buffalo with nothing to Mark Stone and Max Pacioretty.
When he was with Buffalo, they had Rasmus Dahlin, they had Jeff Skinner, they had Reinhart. He was not like...
Yeah, but we're not talking
nothing compared to Vegas.
We're not talking about
that's fair, sure. But I'm just saying, at least on his line, they had talent there with him.
Yeah, and in Calgary, like, I don't think Johnny Gaudreau is a very great player.
No.
I don't think Sean Monahan's a very great player. Lindholm, he's a pretty damn good NHL player. Yep. But again, like, he's not a Max Pacioretty, he's not a Mark Stone, right? So it's good for Eichel in a sense because he's going to be playing with higher talents around him. But I don't think Jack Eichel was enough to carry that Calgary Flames team where they needed to go and what they would have needed from him.
Yeah.
How about that question off Daily Faceoff with Gregor and Frank, where for Frank, I think it was Frank who said that Tkachuk for Eichel almost straight up was enough, like
almost a wash.
Yeah, Frank said Tkachuk is not a better player, but a more impactful player.
Yeah, and I agree there.
Yeah,
I think we're forgetting how good Jack Eichel can be.
More of the game.
I'm with Tyler.
Where I think Eichel is obviously all offense. Tkachuk can do that offense, but he can also get under your skin and fuck up the game in other ways.
The reason I would have preferred Calgary is because Calgary with a fully healthy Jack Eichel is still not better than Edmonton. Vegas with a fully healthy Jack Eichel is better than Edmonton.
But you got to subtract some players off to get underneath
so one, but
how much aren't they 10 million over right now?
They'll be 6 or just under 6, I think, over
when he comes back.
When he comes back.
Like, let's not forget that Alex Tuch is a very good NHL player. He's a top 6 winger. Peyton Krebs, he's a top 9 NHLer right now who projects to be a very good top 6 player years down the road
first
too.
Rounder.
Like, and a first rounder and
So
a second rounder.
And we were talking about how old they were.
Like,
we were talking about how old they were anyways, right?
Yeah.
And how they've kind of moved on from some picks, bringing some guys in. They cannot have a lot coming up or even in picks right now.
Vegas, they're all in. They're all in.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Like, they're going to move. They're probably going to move Riley Smith before the deadline. Or here's a scary thought. Mark Stone's back injury is going to linger until January when he has surgery, misses 3 months, and he's ready for game 1 of the playoffs.
The old Kucherov.
And Vegas, man. Vegas fully healthy in the playoffs. Stone, Pacioretty.
It's a scary team.
Stone, Pacioretty, Eichel, top line. They're all healthy, sick. Second line, that misfits line, great role. Chandler Stevenson's now your third line center, which is a great spot for him with Dodonov. I forgot.
I remember him.
Like, they're a really, really good team. Their blue line's sick. Leonard's sick. I'm worried about Vegas now. Last part of the Jack Eichel question quickly. Did Buffalo get enough sack?
Yes and no. I mean, I think they did fine. Like, I don't think it was an unbelievable trade in any way, but I think they did pretty okay, all things considering.
Well, the way that they handled it made it so that they didn't, I think.
I agree with that fully.
No, but the injury was going to always make it so you're not going to get full price.
And we're all on board here. Like Buffalo, if you would have told me 2 years ago that that's what Jack Eichel gets in a return, I would have laughed and said that's embarrassing for Buffalo.
Yeah.
The return they got, considering the circumstances, not embarrassing. Them allowing it to get to that point, embarrassing.
Well, that's the problem. Like, how much more could have they got in the offseason?
Well, and then
That's what I
Or
would
if they let him
genuinely
get those.
And now the follow-up PR about how much Alex Tuck loves the Sabres organization, and he's so excited to come in. And
You need to
They're
do
gonna
that for
trade
you
him.
need to do that for the
course you do.
for the fans in Buffalo.
But-
I mean, they've done that for us.
There's no way that the Sabres fans are buying this anymore. I just can't believe that they're buying the stuff that Adams is selling them now.
I can't imagine they are, no. Let's get into hot and cold performers. That was Ask the Idiots, brought to you by Buster's Pizza. This is hot and cold performers, brought to you by Deuce Vodka. It's the
Drop a
weekend, baby.
deuce.
Yep. Brad Stepanko still rocking the Neon Nation bombs, and he was in the Twitch chat of our pregame show saying that the reason Leon passed to Puljujarvi is because he understood that Brad couldn't handle a third Neon Nation bomb.
Awfully
during that game.
nice
I
of
think
him.
Brad could have handled two
It's
more.
okay. I was yelling on Monday. I was asking him not to score that third goal because I didn't want to have to throw my hat.
Fair enough.
I was like, Leon, I brought my good hat. Please don't make me throw this hat.
I was happy with the 2 goals because I bet on him to score 2 goals against Nashville, and that was a nice
Yeah,
thing.
but you bet like a number that it stopped at 2 or something. It didn't stop at 2. It was like at least 2. So he could have scored 17. You're going to win the same amount.
That's fair.
All right, let's start with our veggies, as our friend Baggedmilk would say. And Rick, you're closest to me, so you can go first. What's cool performer of the week?
And I think I've done this before, and it may have been last week, but again, the officiating, man, until they figure out how to, and this is not just the Oilers, it's everywhere. Until they figure that out, the NHL is going to have this gray cloud over top of them, and it's not good for the league. It's not good for the league, and they need to just suck it up and figure it out and fix it somehow. That's plain and simple.
That's a joke. That's an absolute joke is what it is.
This has now turned into Rick's weekly complaint about the officials. Dan, your cold performer of the week.
My cold performer of the week are going to go to one faceless idiot that decided to yell some stuff at our friend Avery from the Avery Sports Show and many other countless things that young professional does with his life. Just a great stand-up individual. I'm going to turn it into a positive about Avery.
He's a great person.
Guy that didn't deserve anything of what he was asked walking out of an Edmonton Oilers hockey game. Oiler fans, of course, rallied around him. The team even tweeted about it. Fantastic
The
to see
NHL
that
tweeted
stuff.
about it.
Did they? Yeah. So
Everybody did.
That's fantastic to see. I love to see that. But yeah, to the clown, I'm sure he's not listening to this podcast, who decided to ask Avery, our friend and our colleague, some awful questions. You get my cold performer of the week.
Are you thrilled? I'm not.
Love you, Avery.
I watch football with that guy like every Sunday right now. He comes in every Sunday.
best.
Dude's in the bar more than shit I may be.
The best.
Cold
Fantastic.
performer of the week, Zach?
My cold performer of the week is Tyson Berry. He has very much struggled this year to start the season. He's been demoted down to the 3rd pair. He is not doing very well right now, and that is not what the Oilers needed from Mr. Tyson Berry this year.
I'm upset.
That was loud. Wow. Let me turn it down.
I'm upset.
That's better. All right. Hey, that's the true sense of hot and cold performance. That's why we started the segment. It was just to review Oilers players from the last week, and it's
Then we
turned
went
into
a year and a half with no hockey, and then we had to figure something out.
Yes, that is correct. The old pandemic. My cold performer of the week is Aaron Rodgers. Not only did he lie about being vaccinated and try to spin it into some weird thing, but then he went on the Pat McAfee show today and made himself sound like an absolute asshole. So good job, Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that's cold.
I like how Canada got blamed in the middle of that somehow.
Yeah, how did we get blamed in there?
Apparently, he had said at some point that he got vaccinated in Canada, and they didn't believe him.
Immunized.
Immunized. I apologize.
Jesus Christ. All right, let's get to the hot performers of the week. I'm going first. I'm giving it to myself. My betting picks on the Daily Faceoff Show have been on fire, and I am fired up about that. The hashtag Fade Your Remchuk era is over, and I realize I am now jinxing it by giving myself the hot performer of the week, but I don't even care. I'm so damn happy with how this is going that me making myself a little bit of money on the betting.
All the buttons.
Yeah, let's go with...
Let's go 1, 2, 3.
Oh, these are all sad ones, the ones that generically come loaded in.
The big guy is smoking hot.
Zach, your hot performer of the week.
My hot performer of the week is Chicago Bears quarterback Justin Fields, my boy. He had a big game last week against the San Francisco 49ers. And lock of the week, I'm calling it Bears money line Monday night against Pittsburgh.
Ooh, all right.
He's a hot guy.
Dan?
My hot performer of the week, and I think I'm going to probably have stolen this from Baggedmilk if he was here to do it, but it's going to go to the three guys sitting in this room, everybody that works in this office, anybody that's worked in this office in the past, and especially the people that are listening to this podcast and that have visited any of the Nation Network websites. Incredible week for us this week. Playmaker Financial, if you've missed it, purchase the Nation Network and Daily Face-Off. So it goes out to everybody that's been a part of this journey up until now, and you're on board now for the rocket ship going to the moon. So you guys are all my hot performer of the week.
I can't believe it.
Rick?
It's more than just a week. It's been 30 some odd years, and he's finally getting recognition tonight. But we'll give it to Kevin Lowe.
Yeah, there you go.
I've said everything I had to say already. So Kevin Lowe, yeah, he's been a hot performer for 30 some odd years. He gets finally the recognition he deserves here.
Pour it on.
And there we go. That is Hot and Cold Performers, brought to you by Deuce Vodka. Shout out to Deuce Vodka and Buster's Pizza and Cornerstone Insurance.
Cornerstone.
And our title sponsor, Oodle Noodle, where you can use the promo code OODLE2021 with our friends at DoorDash. That gets you $7 off an order of $30 or more, only with DoorDash and Oodle Noodle, two of our fantastic sponsors. Boys, you enjoy your weekend.
Would you
enjoy
say
this
those
hockey
two
game
companies
tonight.
make like a dynamic duo?
Dynamic duo. Quickly, around the horn score prediction. Zach?
3-2 Oilers.
6-1 Oilers.
I love how we always go to that. I'm going to go 4-0.
4-0. If it is 6-1 Oilers, I'm gonna need a wheelchair to get out of Rodgers' place. I'm gonna be so drunk. Anyways, I'm gonna agree with you. Screw it. 6-2 Oilers. Nice. This has been episode 165 of Oilers Nation Radio. Shout out to our boy Baggedmilk. We miss him very much. Shout out to Dan, Rick, Zach. I'm Tyler Yaremchuk. Enjoy the weekend, Oilers fans. We'll talk next Friday.
Shout out Avery.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Real Life Podcast. Don't want to miss any of our nonsense? Hit the subscribe button and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram.